Very good evening. It's 8 o'clock. I'm Tony Ndoro live from Johannesburg, and these are your top stories. United Investigation. The Hawks and the NPA join forces to investigate those responsible for the plundering of VBS Mutual Bank. A call from the coloured community in Johannesburg for equality, fairness and for justice. Basic Education Minister Angie Motshekga calls on parents, teachers and communities to end the scourge of violence in schools, saying more security is not the answer. Now, in our top story, the Hawks and National Prosecuting Authority have joined forces in nabbing the culprits of VBS Mutual Bank fraud. They're investigating allegations of a sophisticated fraud network running from within the bank. Next week, the Hawks and the NPA will meet on the Great Bank Heist Report. Aaron Bates has the story.
Advocate Terry Motau's Great Bank Heist Report is a revelation. It uncovers the links in the chain of wide-scale looting and pillaging at VBS Mutual Bank. Now, the Hawks and NPA are on a race against time to nab the culprits and their assets.
We cannot take that report directly to a magistrate or judge. So it forms part and parcel of a guide as part of our probe. But we have our own independent investigation.
The Hawks' 13-member team has been bolstered by the NPA. It's assigned 5 prosecutors to investigate, and the two teams first met on this topic last week.
We are taking the matter seriously. These allegations are very serious. We have deployed a highly experienced team to ensure that the Hawks investigators are guided and the matter is fast-tracked to ensure that there is some finality.
The main complainant in this matter is the Reserve Bank.
Motau identifies VBS chairman Chifiwa Matodzi as the kingpin of the scheme. He is said to have roped in political middlemen and municipal officers to guarantee municipalities bank with VBS. And a chartered accountant at KPMG helped them cover their tracks.
One of the things that we're aiming for is to make sure that those are responsible are arrested.
When are those arrests going to happen?
I mean, it depends on the investigations. That is why we're saying we have a big team that has now been formulated. So it means then that action will be taken very soon.
The NPA and the Hawks are set to meet again next week. Aaron Bates, Pretoria.
President Cyril Ramaphosa must apologise for the economic marginalisation and oppression of the coloured community. That is the demand of the Gauteng Total shutdown Organising Committee. Representatives from at least 17 communities marched to the Gauteng Premier's office earlier today. Malungelo Boy was there.
An early Friday morning protest against drugs, gangsterism, and what these Reveille residents describe as their marginalization by government.
For most of us, we don't have opportunity that most people have. Like, this area is not recognized by the government.
Colours are forgotten, and the reason why also is that there are no young people finding jobs, the drug abuse.
Meanwhile, representatives from 17 communities marched to Gauteng Premier David Makhura's office demanding equality, fairness and justice.
We demand that you provide our community with full audits of how many classified colours are working in the entire government departments as per your mandate. We demand that you tell us how much money was spent in former classified coloured communities across the province, and which companies got the contracts and tenders, and how many classified coloured businesses benefited from the business transaction for the last 10 years.
Makhura, who in the past has considered there was a level of neglect of this community, says they are constantly working on solutions.
We are sitting for 3 days next week. But I also said to the cabinet, I also want an audit of service delivery and development, specifically in the communities which I've said are neglected and there's underinvestment.
A similar march targeted at Johannesburg Mayor Herman Mashaba is planned for next week. Malungelo Boy, Johannesburg.
Now, Basic Education Minister Angie Motshekga says safety at schools should be the responsibility of parents, teachers and the communities. She says police and metal detectors alone won't stop attacks on teachers and on pupils. Motshekga was speaking at a school safety summit in Pretoria. Leranzo Temba has that story.
Violence at South African schools is at crisis level. Places of learning and teaching are also fast becoming breeding ground for violence, fear, and in some cases, death.
Learners are recruited into gangsterism. The very same learners, they take those weapons that they get from their own brothers, they kill teachers. You point fingers, say Congress of South Africans, teachers, learners. But we are not doing anything about that gangsterism.
Now, education officials want the greater society to be more involved in stopping the violence. But the calls for more police searches and metal detectors don't resonate with everyone.
We can't rely on one to say, let's bring metal detectors. I'm saying let's conscientize our children more. For me, that's the strongest. That they should regard peace, they should be disciplined. But some of these things don't happen in other schools. They happen in specific communities.
Teacher unions have also come forward with their suggestions.
Patrolling of the police is important, but not permanently stationed at the school level. We need to use education to change our mindset and not believe on our external stimuli to help what is really an internal problem.
The one-day summit also looked at the possible roles law enforcement, sports and the church can play in combating violence. Teachers were also given pointers on how to empower themselves in the classroom. Leranzo Temba, Pretoria.
Education and Training Quality Assurer Umalusi says it's all systems go for the matric exams. 600,000 pupils will sit for the exams from this coming Monday. The body is pleading with protesting communities not to disrupt learners writing exams. It's also confident the measures that have been put in place to avoid exam paper leaks will work.
Member Louis Madalane has reported on areas of good practice and areas of concern in some provinces in terms of our auditing of the system for its readiness to administer the National Senior Certificate examinations for this year. These concerns have been brought to the attention of the relevant provincial heads of department and the Director General of the Department of Basic Education for corrective action before the start of the examinations. We'll be monitoring that space to ensure that the necessary remedial measures are taken before the examinations commence. However, regardless of the identified risks, I can report to you that our system is ready to administer the 2018 final examinations.
Now, for other stories that made headlines today, the N3 has been reopened after a fuel price protest brought the National Freeway to a standstill near the Marion Hill Toll Plaza today. COSATU, its affiliates and pressure groups want government to reduce fuel costs and reverse the VAT increase. It also wants the public transport system to be improved and for SASL to be nationalized. The demonstration was only approved to take place on the Durban-bound side, which was closed in the vicinity of the toll plaza for several hours, but protesters later tried to block the Johannesburg-bound route, forcing police to move in. Police eventually managed to confine protesters to one side. Apartheid-era Foreign Affairs Minister Pik Botha has died. His son Roloff Botha confirmed that he passed away at home this morning after a long illness. He was 86 years old. Now, Botha was admitted to hospital in September. He was born in April 1932 and started in the Foreign Affairs Department in 1953. In April 1977, he was appointed Minister of Foreign Affairs. He was also Minister of Energy Affairs in 1994, and he resigned in 1996. Okay, stay with us on eNews. Still to come, the death toll from Hurricane Michael, which slammed into the Florida northwest coast, has risen to 12. Okay, still coming up, we'll take a look at the local markets with Muteo Khoripe. What do you have for us?
Better day of trade today, Tony, and also a strengthening of the rand. I'll bring you that breakdown in a moment.
Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. Muteo joins me now for some business news. What can we expect from Moody's announcement today?
You know, like you and I, Tony, when we walk into a bank, we need some sort of credit check if we are going to ask for money anywhere else. The country's the same. South Africa always asks for capital elsewhere, and they need this sort of rating. And Moody's has kept it at investment rating, unlike Fitch and S&P, who have also downgraded our investment rating, keeping us at Baa3 currently, which is also at a stable outlook. And they're saying in September they expect South Africa's policy going forward to do greater. In fact, one analyst says South Africa's economy has done well over the past year.
My expectation for Moody's is it's not going to downgrade South Africa's credit rating. Remember, a few weeks ago, it upgraded local banks' credit rating, and normally banks' credit rating are linked to that of the sovereign. So it wouldn't make sense to upgrade local banks and then a few weeks later you downgrade the sovereign. That wouldn't make sense. But again, we have seen quite a lot of developments this year in the past 8 months or so. We also had just the job summit last week, which was quite positive in terms of a social compact between business, labor and government. And that is going to be quite positive. It has been viewed positively by local markets and international markets.
Okay, Muteo, what did the markets look like today?
Well, a topsy-turvy week, but on Friday, the market's closing off on the positive front with the all-share up more than 2% and industrials being up 4% as Naspers recovered this week, and financials also up 2% as the rand strengthened. Mining shares were down, gold after that rout that they had yesterday, and platinum up 1%, with resources also flat on the day. In commodity prices, the price of gold now at $1,219 an ounce is flat today, and platinum down more than 0.5%, with Brent crude also lowering at $79.94 a barrel. South Africa's rand still punching above its weight against the dollar as US inflation disappointed today. It's at 14 rand 59 against the dollar, at 16 rand 86 against the euro, and at 19 rand 19 against the pound.
Okay, so the rand rebounding. Not bad.
Definitely, and we'll see how it starts next week.
All right, fantastic stuff. Thanks, Muteo, for the business news there. Time now to take a look at international news making headlines, and we start in the United States. The death toll in the aftermath of Hurricane Michael has risen to 12. It slammed into Florida's northwest coast, causing severe damage across Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, and Virginia. Homes have been reduced to piles of wood, leaving 20,000 people displaced. Gulf World and Zoo World in Panama City have also been hit. And Britain has held its second royal wedding this year. Queen Elizabeth's granddaughter, Princess Eugenie, and wine merchant Jack Brooksbank shared a royal kiss on the steps of Windsor Castle. Among the celebrities at the wedding were supermodel Naomi Campbell, Prince Harry, and Meghan Markle, who celebrated their nuptials earlier this year. They were also there. The newlyweds were whisked off in an open-top horse-drawn carriage. Break. We go to our weather center where Louis is standing by, and then that infamous hug.
I love this guy right here. Yeah.
Kanye West has the most bizarre meeting with U.S. President Donald Trump. We'll tell you what happened next. Welcome back. Let's go to Louis with the weather. Louis, is the whole country going to be under rain tomorrow?
Just about, Tony. Most parts of South Africa experiencing showers and thunderstorms during the course of Saturday. And if we take a look at the rain and cloud forecast for tomorrow, I'll tell you exactly why this is taking place. And it's because of a high pressure ridging in behind a cold front along the east coast, as well as a low towards the western coastline. And the combination of these two systems are causing lots of moisture to pour into the interior of South Africa. Wow. And that's the fuel that's needed for the thunder showers to develop. So we can see wet weather developing in the afternoon over much of the interior, and becomes especially stormy onto the Highveld, where there's also potential for severe thunderstorms during the course of Saturday afternoon and evening. The Northern Cape will also see thunderstorm activity during the afternoon hours, but it does stay dry for Springbok and Alexander Bay, where temperatures climb into the mid to upper 20s. It's going to be a mostly dry day for the Western Cape. Lighter winds for Cape Town, but the strong winds shift towards the south coast, including George and Mossel Bay. Windy for Port Elizabeth with mostly sunny skies, but for other areas in the Eastern Cape it stays cloudy with rain and temperatures will also be low. Lots of cloud and rain into KwaZulu-Natal, especially in the northern parts. Temperatures are going to be low across the province once again, and we're also going to see some very wet weather developing into Mpumalanga, especially in the afternoon and evening, but it is also going to be a very chilly day over this province, 14 for Ermelo as well as eMakhazeni. Limpopo could also see a couple of thunder showers towards Tabazimbi and Bela Bela, and in the morning there'll be light rain over the eastern parts of this province. Showers and thunderstorms expected for much of the northwest. Hopefully that will wash away a lot of the dusty weather that's been in place over the last couple of weeks. And we'll see similar conditions for the Free State. It's going to be a much colder day over this province, especially in the east. Harry Smith, 12 degrees, your expected maximum. And it's going to be a stormy afternoon and evening across much of Gauteng, especially in the southern parts where we have an 80% chance for those thunderstorms to develop, and some of those thunderstorms could become quite strong as well. Let's take a look at what Sunday brings to South Africa, and while there will be thunderstorms for many parts of South Africa, not quite as widespread as they will be for tomorrow, dry towards the western and east coasts of the country, and then on Monday, mostly dry over South Africa, a few thunder showers in the northeast and a couple of drops of rain for some areas along the coastline. That's all from the Weather Centre. It's back to you in Johannesburg.
All right, thank you so much, Louis. You're officially the good news man. Lots of rain coming your way. Now, rapper Kanye West's televised Oval Office meeting with US President Donald Trump has tongues wagging on social media. In a speech bursting with profanity, the singer defended his support of Trump, much to the American leader's delight.
Kanye West's visit was billed as a lunch to discuss prison reform, jobs for African Americans, and violence in Chicago. One of Kanye's baffling comments was on alternative universes.
There's infinite amounts of universe and there's alternate universe. So it's very important for me to get Hoover out because in an alternate universe, I am him. And I have to go and get him free because he was doing positive inside of Chicago, just like how I'm moving back to Chicago. And it's not just about, getting on stage and being an entertainer and having a monolithic voice that's forced to be a specific party.
The rapper also addressed his bipolar diagnosis.
I had a 75th percentile of all human beings, but it was counting 8 numbers backwards after it was repeating, so I'm going to work on that one. The other one's 98% Tesla, Freud. So he said that I actually wasn't bipolar. I had sleep deprivation, which could cause dementia.
And Kanye gave Trump a hug.
I love this guy right here.
That's really, That's really nice.
The meeting has become a top trending topic on Twitter. Users took to the microblogging site mostly to express their concern with memes and other funny comments.
2 peas in a pod. Okay, now let's take you to our headlines. United investigation. The Hawks and the NPA join forces to investigate those responsible for the plundering of VBS Mutual Bank. A call from the coloured community in Johannesburg for equality, fairness and for justice. Basic Education Minister Angie Motshekga calls on parents, teachers and communities to end the scourge of violence in schools, saying more security is not the answer. That's it from myself and the team behind the scenes. Enjoy the rest of your Friday evening. Good night.